Welcome back. Your favorite tasty show here as we venture behind the kitchen doors. We don't want to know what's going on out front. We want to know what's happening behind the kitchen doors. As we all love to go out to eat, but we never think about what goes into that effort to get the food in front of us here. The man who's been facing that battle, fighting that fight for many years here, Chef Pascal. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thank you, Paul.
Is it a battle to get the food out every day, or is it just a joyous thing, like little birds come and it's just happy things?
You know, it's an enjoyment because we love cooking, but also we love challenge. We are crazy. Chefs are crazy, loving challenge. Every day should not be a challenge, but we challenge ourselves.
Right, exactly.
And just to deliver thing that we love to do with passion. And talking about passion today, we have a guest who have a lot of passion, and he is also committed to do things that not many other chefs have achieved. He has a different philosophy that 98% of other chefs. So we're going to talk about his philosophy of cooking, a philosophy of eating, and he's way beyond just being in the kitchen. You know, he spent probably 50% of his time as a farmer. Actually, he called himself chef and farmer.
I saw that. He says chef and farmer. You can't be both. You can't grow it and serve it.
Well, that's the best way, you know. You know how things grow, you know what you serve, and you can control it. It's very important.
Well, let's introduce him. You've teased him up here.
Yeah.
Who is this gentleman? Who is this magic magician here?
Chef Adam Navidi.
Hello, everyone.
And the restaurant is?
Oceans and Earth.
And which is where?
Well, we have one in Yorba Linda right now, and we are building a second one over by South Coast Plaza in the Mets.
It's called the Met. It's
Met.
It's a new development.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
So
Super
what is
exciting.
the concept? I know you guys always hate to be defined. Tell me if I've never been there, what's the restaurant?
So our restaurant is, it's farm to table, but more than that, we're kind of, we try to keep things unique and do some different things, and of course, it's it all circles around what we're either growing, but we also do like dedicated gluten-free too. So we make all of our, every restaurant says they make everything in house, but we really have to make everything in house.
Are you really 100% gluten-free?
100% gluten-free. Yeah, there's not a because we get celiacs and a lot of people that come into our restaurants.
So if somebody comes, say, can you just bring me some roll on butter, and then I'll order my dinner?
Yeah, we can take care of that. We can do it. We can give them, it's they're amazed. People are still amazed, and I'm amazed because you would think more restaurants would do it. We try to be allergy friendly across the board. So we don't use nuts either in the restaurant. We don't have any nuts. So we keep our dairy separate. We keep our seafood separate. So do you
make a gluten-free bread or something?
Yeah, so we make a gluten-free brioche. We make a gluten-free flatbread. We make a gluten-free baguette. We make gluten-free focaccia, cornbread.
How hard is
tortillas.
it? Why don't more do that? And how hard is it to do that?
Well, it's hard in the fact that you got to make everything, so it's a little bit more labor intensive. But I don't know why more restaurants don't do it. They say like 1 in 3 has a gluten sensitivity, right? So it might be that they get upset stomach or different things.
My wife has a severe dairy allergy, and she actually gets cysts and stuff if she eats butter or any cream or anything from a cow. Yeah. And we go to restaurants all the time. They say, "Oh, don't worry about it." But they're cross-contaminated. They're mixing stuff and everything here, and she's always so careful about it.
And do you have also some vegan dish?
Yeah, so we have vegan dishes too because we're farm to table. You got to have, and we get a lot of vegans that come in there. Not as much as we do. There's, but. For us, it's like we want, it seems like every family has one person in their family now that is either vegan or has a dairy allergy or a gluten. So we want the whole family to be able to come here and be able to eat and not have to worry about it.
Talking about that, we're going to go back to the food on some of your special tea ingredients, but you wanted to make your place like a cheers, for the local to come back and to know each other from one table to another. And
everyone knows your name. Everyone's glad you came.
Yeah.
And cheers.
And so they know you, but also your wife is very instrumental on that. She's really good in dining.
Yes. Yeah, she is. Yeah, I mean, she's my better half, really.
Yeah.
She does all the stuff I don't want to do, And so, I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have her with me. And, we're actually, we're getting married this year, in November.
You're not married?
Yeah, we're not married yet. We've been together 23 years. So we had met at when we had one of my other restaurants in the Hyatt, Huntington Beach. We met there.
Wow.
And she was, they had this big pep rally, and she was up there with the megaphone telling everybody where to go. And she looked over and kind of smiled at me, and I said, God, give me a good woman like that, and don't let me
So that was your call.
Yeah, and I said, don't let me be stupid enough to lose her. And he's held his part up, so I got to do my part now.
Good.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Yep. Yeah.
And are you going to cook for your own wedding?
We're not allowed to where we're getting married at,
okay.
and they don't really want me to for that one. But I'm going to cook for the, the night before.
Okay.
Yeah, for the rehearsal and all that.
So let's go back to more of the food you are dedicated to do. You got some awards, nationwide awards, but more biological, or what was the award a few years ago? You say one of the 5 only restaurant in the country.
Yeah, so we won the best gluten-free restaurant in the nation. That was by the Celiac Foundation. We've won all kinds of different awards, but so we won Chef of the Year by the Orange County Food Writers Association, which that used to be a great big organization. Mm-hmm. It's since then it's starting to
Not many food writers left. Not many places to write the stories.
Yeah, which is too bad because I love writing, and I think that's really what was exciting back in the day for people to read about restaurants and then want to go to them,
But you've been involved with a lot of charities as well.
Yeah, we've been involved in a lot of charities. But, I mean, going back to the awards, we've won, we were like one of the top 50 independent restaurants in the country. We've done that. But, more than awards is, like you said, being that Cheers, being that local community restaurant where people come. Mm-hmm. And people come from afar even, too. I mean, we get people from all over the world, and there's a lot of guests that come in and they'll say, hey, we've been planning to come here for like 2 years, 3 years. We've been saving up to come, and we're going to go to Disneyland, but we're going to be here every night. We go to Disneyland, but we're going to come for dinner.
It's very close by.
Yeah, and I'm like, great, it's awesome. And then you talk to people from like San Francisco, New York, Chicago, all these big food towns, and they go, there's nothing like this in New York or Chicago or San Francisco, and you're going, wow, like that's...
I have to say, a lot of people think Yerba Linda is out of the way. It's not. It's pretty easy to get there from the freeway
But I don't think of it as a food town. I don't think of it as a food. It's not the beach town.
That's why he has a niche.
Yeah. Right. Well, no, it is. All of my friends that are chefs go, what are you doing up in Applebee country up there?
Right,
because Yerba Linda is where the chain restaurants, like Chili's, right? Chili's started there. You got Mimi's Cafe started there. A lot of, and so, I mean, it's up in the hills. You got the 91 freeway. You got traffic during the daytime. It's not the easiest place to get to. So that's why I think the new South Coast spot will really be attractive because we'll get a lot of people that
Is a South Coast spot is going to be similar cuisine?
Yeah, similar cuisine. We're going to be open for lunch. It's funny because you always want to elevate it a little bit. For me, I want to do, new things all the time, of course. But, you get your guests that say, oh, you got to keep this, or you got to keep this, or you got to, they're already saying you got to do your flatbreads, you got to do that. There's a lot of things in my contract I already got to do. So, but, we want to make it to where it's, ultimately what it's about giving people something they can't get anywhere else.
It's a beautiful location. A beautiful landscape there. And, close to the businesses, close to South Coast Plaza, and right there on the freeway. So,
And you got the 3 big Met buildings there, and we're right off Anton and Flower there. And you got the hotels, you got the Segerstrom Center there. A lot of potential, and we got a big space to do events there, too. There's already companies saying, hey, we want to start having our events there.
There you go.
So we get a bunch of chefs together and we cook and have fun, and we love doing that, right?
Wonderful. So you're very specific about what you serve, but also you're very specific of what you grow on the raise. I say raise because you don't just grow vegetables and produce. You raise livestock like a fish.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so our farm, Future Foods Farms, we had that for 12 years. We had to close the big one down a couple years back because they're going to build homes out there. It was us, the strawberry farm, the Christmas tree lot.
Where is this at?
This was out in Brea. It was about 4 miles away from our restaurant.
Okay.
So we had that for 12 years, and it was the largest aquaponic farm in the state of California. We had, over 40.
Can you explain aquaponic?
Yeah, aquaponics is aquaculture and hydroponic, the two sciences put together. So it's kind of the only way to really do hydroponics organically, and that's by having fish, having tilapia that produce the ammonia, the nutrients that the plants need to grow, and that plants in return filter, clean the water, and the water returns to the fish tank. So it's a little
full circle.
Yeah, full circle, sustainable ecosystem.
And what would you grow there? You'd grow fish and vegetables?
Yeah, so we had about 30,000 tilapia there. And then we'd grow about 500 pounds.
We're not talking about a little tilapia. Some of them.
Yeah. You know who came out? Jacques Cousteau's grandson, Philippe Cousteau, came out, and he shot a documentary about our farm called Exploration Awesome Planet. It's on Hulu TV. You can find it.
I love it.
And he won a Emmy Award for daytime television for educational shows.
Wonderful.
But he was... that was cool because he was impressed. He's like, I gave him a net to catch some fish out of our big, and he pulls out like a 5-pound tilapia, and he's going, wow, this is like one of the biggest tilapia I've ever seen in my life.
That's the catch of the day.
Yeah.
So you grew fish, and it was just for you, or must have been for other places?
Yeah, well, we started growing just for me mostly. That's really why I got into this thing. I started this in my backyard back in, 2000. We started the farm in like 2008. And then we started doing dinners on our farm as well, too, every Saturday night. So that kind of started this trend of doing dinners on farms in Orange County and Southern California.
You like to do that. You're very involved on farm chef dinners.
Oh, yeah, definitely. For us, it was like, we were trying to do this thing. When we had a restaurant in the Huntington Beach. When we left that, we found a spot in Huntington Beach where we wanted to have a biosphere behind the restaurant. And at that time...
A biosphere. No, you say that so quickly. What's a biosphere?
A biosphere where we would be doing...
A contained bubble where you grew like...
like a greenhouse. Yeah. And then we wanted to be able to grow our fish and our produce in there because I was already doing it in my backyard. So I'm like, let's do this. Let's do this behind a restaurant, and people will come and want to see it. And at that time, the zoning laws were, you can't do agriculture in a commercial zone.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I can't do agriculture in a commercial zone, I'll do commercial
even for
in an agriculture zone.
Even for your own use?
Even for your own use. For some reason, that was in Huntington Beach, they were saying, even for the restaurant, it wasn't my own use, but it was for the restaurant.
Chickens in your backyard or something. They don't want you raising goats in your backyard.
Behind the restaurant, right?
Yeah,
that's the whole thing, is you can't do agriculture.
You don't think anybody grow weeds in
Weeds, maybe.
So I said, if I can't do that, then I'll do agriculture in a commercial zone. So I found... I'll do commercial and agricultural. So I go, if In-N-Out Burger can park a trailer out in the middle of the desert and serve cheeseburgers out of it, why can't I do dinners on my own farm?
Yeah,
and so I bought an old beat-up nursery and turned it into an aquaponic farm. And it was fun, man. I mean, we did it every Saturday night. It was 40 seats in the middle of a greenhouse. You'd have, all these things growing alongside you.
So you had that at the same time that you opened the restaurant?
No, I had that before my restaurant. I had that from about 2008, right in between middle of 2008 and 9. All the way till 2021, just about after COVID, when COVID was ending.
Okay.
And
why have I never heard of this? What a cool idea! I'm sorry, I'm the last one to know here.
Well, and it was fun too because you get everybody from all over would come, and they'd park at this elementary school, and we'd pick them up in the van, and we'd bring them on to the property. And at first, everybody would be looking at their cell phones, like, "Do we get recovered? Where are we going? Like coverage?" And then they walk into Greenhouse 1, and here's a big Magnum of Veuve, and champagne glasses, and they can see the whole, table set out. So we'd give them a glass of champagne, and then we'd walk into 3 or 4 of the other greenhouses, because we had 10 greenhouses, and we'd show them each different system, how we were growing things. Meanwhile, my staff would be in the kitchen, in our makeshift farm kitchen,
You sure there was no champagne in the kitchen?
Yeah, there was champagne in the kitchen too, but they would be stoking the little fire, and we built a little oven kind of thing. It was like cooking on a campfire.
Mm-hmm. This seems to be a trend, still a small trend, but a trend of urban farming, of trying to bring farming back into urban areas. Right now, farms are way out somewhere, and then the food has to be transported in because the land is cheaper out there, and it's too expensive to grow here. But we've had people come in different way shapes, either vertical farming or what you're talking about.
There's a few places
hydroponic stuff, trying to grow in an urban commercial area.
In Orange County, you have the Ecology Center that do this type of event. You have the strawberry farm and do that also.
So these guys all came out to our farm and said, "Hey, they saw our dinners and came to our dinners, and they said, why don't we start doing dinners on our farms?" And that started in the strawberries, the Tanakas, the Eco. All these guys started getting into that thing. But we still are the only ones that were doing it inside of a greenhouse, which is cool,
I would think
because it's all lit up, and you're like, you feel the moisture of being in there.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I mean, I remember one of our first press things we did was in August, and it was like 105 degrees outside, and we're in a greenhouse, and I'm just like, I'm dumping ice into the cooling walls to try and keep it, because we've got all these ladies, they're all dressed up, and we want them to be nice and cool in there.
So you also invite students, or you involved with Orange Coast College, correct?
Yeah. So we're involved now with Orange Coast College. They have a couple greenhouses there. Mm-hmm. They started out. We became friends years ago. They had come out to our farm and seen it, and so they wanted to put aquaponics in. So we gave them some fish and some things to get them started, and they've been doing an awesome job with it.
That is great.
Yeah, they've really built it up nicely, and the students are really into it.
So you're mentoring that philosophy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, this is really for me, it's got to happen for the future of life. I mean, we have to find ways of being more sustainable and growing our own food.
Do you call your philosophy being ecologic?
Ecology?
Like an ecology system?
Yeah. I mean, I would say so. We always say it's like sustaining the plant one plate at a time, or building a better future. It's almost kind of goes back to biblical, right? It's like, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish, you feed him for life. If you teach him and then I added on to that, if you teach a man how to grow fish, how to be a fish farmer, then you feed his community for life, because we need more fish farmers. We got to, we know what's going on with the oceans.
Does this feed it all into what you're doing, Pascal, with your friend and the salmon?
That's what we are working on, to have really a sustainable ocean fish farming.
Right.
Yep. And because ocean fish wasn't really controlled before, but now we can.
And they're overfishing, and then they're all the collateral damage, whatever they pull stuff in a net, they get a whole bunch of kill a whole bunch of other fish.
And they give them medication. And
a lot of our fish were coming from other countries. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, America. I mean, I think we produced like maybe 10 or 15% of the fish that everyone's buying in the stores. Most of it, 80% of it's coming from China and stuff. So it's to be able to have better control of where our stuff's coming from, to know what's in there, to know we're getting exactly what we're buying.
Is there a place where we can get your tilapia?
Well, right now, no, there's not. We when we had the big farm, we had the big fish going. You had asked before if we were growing. We started selling at 15 farmers markets a week. Right. We started selling to other restaurants, and so when we closed that, because we were doing about 30,000 heads of lettuce a month.
Wow.
Which is way more than I could do, and that was me and one guy. I only had one guy working on the farm. But I mean, he was a good guy. I mean,
he was working.
He was a heavy worker, and he'd been working on that nursery for like 15 or 20 years before I bought it.
So that's not, you shut that down? You don't have that anymore?
Yeah, so we had to shut that down. They're going to build homes out there. They need more homes, right? It's like, I drive by and I see the sign that says, building better communities or bigger communities. And I'm thinking the sign should say building a sustainable community, right? You know what I mean? Like there should be.
We're not worried about that.
Is that possible?
Well, I look and I go, because I'm kind of, my father was an engineer, and I'm always thinking about how do I think of things up, and I'm always thinking, someday somebody's going to build a community where it's got an aquaponic system, and your pools in your backyard are all fresh water that are flowing in, and all your sprinklers and all your water, water's going to run into that.
You can have underground reservoir. You can recycle for your own backyard or front yard.
Yeah, but the whole community, just have it all flow down to one area in the bottom, and like you said, have a reservoir
more than just a little communal farm or a little communal garden where they have you can play and plant a few things here. You're talking about really something that could sustain the community.
We need to come up, especially with you coming up with El Nino. We're going to have some big storms. You got to save that water somewhere. It's not just to keep your grass
run
green.
it off into the ocean.
No, it goes down, you don't know where.
Yeah.
So,
There is no groundwater in half of the county.
Yeah.
Did you know that? We've done lots of shows on water here. The northern half has groundwater, but the southern half has no groundwater in it. So they're trying to find out ways to maximize, get more out of it. We've had all the water districts in, and it's a constant problem of how do you
there's a few locations
capture water and
they have
save
a
it.
system of a reservoir, underground reservoir, and then they pump out for sprinklers or whatever.
Yeah.
You talk about your dad earlier. Is your mother was a big influence into cooking for you?
Yeah, my mother and my father were both big influences in my cooking. My mother was, the type that it was like, I was kind of a crazy kid, growing up, and so
You're still crazy.
I didn't do well in schools, and so
Where did you grow up?
Whenever they said you got to go home, I go home, and my mom would be like, "All right, what are you going to cook for dinner tonight? You're not going to go outside and skateboard and play around. If you're not going to school, you're gonna learn how to cook."
And where was this at?
I grew up in Yorba Linda.
Oh, okay. Now it explains. I was going to say, why Yorba Linda? Yeah.
So going back to that story with Pascal too, a little bit is that my mother said, okay, you're going to cook something, so I'd make dinner. Every night she would entertain people. We'd have neighborhood friends there, so there'd be like 10 or 12 people sitting at the table. So I kind of really learned that from her. With my father, him being an engineer, but he'd also have a little farm out in the backyard, and so every night, he'd go out there and he'd pick whatever he had and he'd make a salad with fresh vegetables. And, it was, for us as kids growing up, it was like, we didn't want to eat all those vegetables all the time, My mom would order a big pizza or something when she wasn't cooking dinner. And I'd sit there and I'd watch my father not eat a slice of pizza. He'd sit there and eat a salad. And I'd think, wow, it's weird. He doesn't like pizza, But now that I've gotten older, I realize that you can't eat pizza all the time, and eating those vegetables are really what make you feel good. And that's what it's about, listening to your body and what makes you feel good. But my mother and my father came up to a restaurant when I was working in Bend, Oregon, and I did it. It was a nice.
So you work in Oregon?
Yeah, I worked in Bend, Oregon, at a place called Broken Top, and it was kind of my first stepping into a real fine dining restaurant. It was a 4-diamond restaurant. It was the head chef from the Hotel Bel Air and the mansion on Turtle Creek. So at that time, you had Dean Faring at the mansion of Turtle Creek. He was considered to be one of the greatest restaurants in the country at that time. So it was one of his sous chefs that had come there, and he had also worked at Hotel Bel Air, and they had the GM there. And so they were like, okay, we're going to do this, great food. And so I got a chance to learn. And I got a chance, too, where they had, every year they'd do the food and wine.
Yeah.
Top 6 chefs in the country would come there and they'd cook whatever made them famous. So I got to meet all these great chefs, So I was there 3 or 4 years, and every year I worked with one year I worked with John George with Grinton. One year I worked with Dean Faring. One worked, Jody Denton out of San Francisco. So I got a chance to see, I go, man, this is pretty cool. I wouldn't mind doing this maybe for a living, At that time, I was still a pro snowboarder, so I thought I was going to be,
you were a pro snowboarder.
Yeah, I was a pro snowboarder.
Talking about that.
Yeah.
Describe how and why you call your restaurant Ocean on Earth.
Okay, so I call my restaurant Oceans on Earth because, one, I like surf and tourists, but also because of my love for the ocean. So I'm a surfer, and also my love for the mountains and the snow. So I'm a snowboarder. And years ago, 30 years ago, you'd start hearing things, about how the ocean's going to rise, a foot or two, and we're going to lose some of our best surf breaks because those are all in reef spots, and how the snow's going to stop dropping below 6,000 feet, where half of our ski resorts are below 6,000 feet. So I was concerned then, about kind of this global warming or whatever they were using that wording as back then. So that's why I decided to call it Oceans and Earth. So my mom and my dad came up to my restaurant in Bend, Oregon, and I made them this nice fancy dinner, and I was doing creme brulee tableside, and my mom's, so super excited that her son was a bit crazy growing up is now turning into this, responsible chef, kind of found a way to, or not even a chef at that point, I was a cook. And so she goes, Adam, you got to open a restaurant one day. What are you going to call it? I said, I'll call it Oceans and Earth. And she says, that's a beautiful name. Where? And she goes, you got to promise me you open it in our hometown in Yorba Linda because we need a really good restaurant in Yorba Linda. And so I made that promise, and I kept it. 20 years later, we opened Oceans and Earth in Yorba Linda in a location that I had been trying to buy several times before, but it never, I got outbid or something happened with the...
And how did that play in upper suburbia like that? I mean, Yorba Linda is the land of Applebee's and Mimi's. It's a very nice upscale neighborhood, but they like chain food generally.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's between ocean and earth. Between the mountain and the ocean.
There you go.
So was it, Chef Pascal talked about this, coming down and opening a fancy fresh restaurant here in the 80s when there wasn't anything like that. This is sleepy suburbia. Did people respond to it? Did they take a while to warm up to it?
When you have so much personality and you bring a specific product, there's a wow factor.
There is a wow factor. Right?
It's a wow factor, and then you find something that anybody in your family or in your friends around is going to like, and you come back for it, because it's not only just cooking gluten-free, it's cooking with a lot of taste, a lot of flavor.
I can tell,
yeah.
So how did it react? Were people ready for it? Did it take a while to educate them?
Well, it took a little. In the beginning, the first year or 2 years, we were taking over an old spot that kind of had been changing restaurants every year or 2 years. They called it the cursed corner, right? So it's like,
right.
Of course, you got to hear all these.
It's actually a beautiful location.
It's a beautiful location.
And there are locations like that. You see restaurants just turn. It seems like it's a hot spot, and yet nothing can take. Yeah. One concept after another goes until finally somebody figures it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's funny because it's like I've had a couple restaurants that were like that. My other restaurant before that was Green to Go in Brea, and it was a restaurant that used to be a Starbucks, and Starbucks failed there. They couldn't pay it. So they ended up like having to pay a percentage of the rent for a little while, and so we had moved in there, and we made that thing take off, and then we opened up this restaurant, Oceans and Earth, and before that I had catering companies that I worked with that weren't doing that well when we first started out, and so you kind of build these things up, but the only way you do it is by being there, and by, like Chef says, to have a love and to listen to people. You listen to your customers and what they want. We started out in Yorba Linda with like a tasting menu prefix, and that wasn't going to work in that area, and a lot of my neighbors and a lot of my close friends were like, Adam, we love you and we love your food, but we're not going to go out every week for for an upscale dinner, but you put tacos or burgers on there and we'll come every week, kind of thing. And so you end up putting, you want to take care of the customers that are in your local area right there, and your friends and everything. So we end up putting tacos and burger on there, and so it's like we listen to people, and we've evolved. But it's funny because a lot of our menu items are still very similar menu items than when we first opened, and people are like, "Wow, look, the menu looks like it's changed a lot over the years," and it really hasn't. It's just we've added a couple of little.
So,
things.
What is specialties? What would you recommend people?
I was going to ask, what would be a specific dish that you do on nobody can find it anywhere else, and why it's different?
Okay. Yeah, so the other part of Oceans and Earth is that, surf and turf, right? So it's like, I like that too as well. I've always, because I come from...
It's like chef and farmer.
Chef and farmer. Because I come from chef and farmer. I mean, I
don't know any chef and farmers. Okay.
I'm not a guy that just goes out and eats a steak. You know what I mean? I'm not a guy that just goes out and order. I mean, I like little bites. That's why I like prefix menus and things like that, because after you eat 3 or 4 bites, right, it becomes
give me the next one.
Yeah, give me something different. So, for us, it's like being able to do something that's like a tasting of tides, right? A tasting of the ocean.
You have a lot of sharing plates. Too.
Yeah, sharing plates, or a tasting of Earth. You know what I mean? And do things that maybe people haven't seen before. You know what I mean? So we're working on a dish right now that's called foraging. Right, for truffles,
foraging,
right? Okay. And so, we got this thing that looks like a tree log that we're putting fake dirt in.
Do you have a pig and we have to go out in the back or something?
Yeah, so we have a shovel there. But more funnier than that is we got the fake pig noses, right, with the rubber band. So, the customer puts on the pig nose with the rubber band, and then we got a little shovel for them to dig and forage for their own. And we're doing like an arancini, like a risotto ball with black truffle and black crust on it, and homemade cheese with truffle cheese in the middle, So they got to dig for their own.
They got to dig for their food. Right?
So you're kind of making it an interactive thing now, right? You're doing something where the guest, is now interactive into their food and into being, feeling. What does it feel like to actually kind of go foraging for?
So they have to dig for their food.
They have to dig for the food. Most people don't want to put the pig nose on, but it's funny when you tell them to do it.
So is that part of this whole idea of experiential is the new thing? If I'm going to go out and do anything, if I'm going to go to a retail store, if I'm going to go to a restaurant, I want to experience something. I don't want to just buy something.
I think so, definitely. I think that's the big, yeah. And I mean, we all learn that kind of, when you look at the Knott's Berry Farms and the Disneylands and all that stuff, it started off as kind of as a little restaurant or something, a little farm, and then it was.
A restaurant can be
spiritual.
an entertainment.
Yeah.
Entertainment.
Yeah.
You got to experience something.
Yeah.
You don't just go out, whether it's the ambiance, whether it's the dish, whether it's the service, whether it's doing a table side, whatever you're doing, something you can't just take and go.
Is there any other dish? Do you still do the creme brulee table side?
Yeah, we don't do a table side anymore. We started in the very beginning with the cart and doing like different flavors and different sizes. But then, it was, the cart's a little bit loud, right? The wheels start to wear down, or, it just starts making noise on the tile. And so now you kind of...
you burn yourself a couple of times.
Or the staff burn themselves too, right? It's like trying to teach staff how to do something like that is a little scary sometimes.
Can I ask you two a question? Because now you hit a hot button for me. I love good creme brulee. I rarely get good creme brulee. The creme is either like just custard and thick and gooey or too runny or whatever, and the little icing on the top, the little burnt sugar, is either too hard, too is it that tough? What is so tough about getting a great creme brulee? Or am I just too picky?
It's not that tough.
Yeah, it's not that tough. I mean, so the thing that's my signature kind of creme brulee when you talk about our creme brulee is, we started a catering company right in 1998. So I've been catering, all of Newport Coast, a bunch of places. And we actually have the same clients we're doing the events for this summer that we've been doing now 27 years now. Wow. And they could have anybody. But so going back to our creme brulee, so we do ours, which kind of makes us our signature is we do it in a caviar tin, right? So we bake the creme brulee inside there. We put sea lavender and vanilla bean in the custard, and then we do the caviar.
Sea lavender, okay.
Sea lavender and vanilla bean, and then we do the caviar on top. We make it look like salmon eggs, sitting in a tin of caviar with the caviar lid on it. And at first people are like, wow, what is that? We didn't order caviar, you know? And we did that because, as a kid growing up, it was like salmon eggs were the grossest thing to me when I was a kid. You'd be fishing with them and stuff, and you'd be like, who would ever eat these things, right?
Exactly.
So we want to, it's, again, a guest experience, right? So we serve this passion fruit caviar on top of our creme brulee. Now, we get that nice crust on there, but when you put those salmon eggs on that half of that portion, it does soften up that top portion of the creme brulee, and then you get the crunchy part on the other side. But it's just, again, serving something kind of in a way that people haven't seen before.
But you do a regular creme brulee.
That's our creme brulee. Right now.
That's his regular creme brulee.
That's our regular creme brulee. Yeah, on the menu right now.
Sweet and savory.
Sweet and savory. So yeah, well, it's more sweet than it is savory.
Yeah.
I mean, the lavender adds a little bit of floralness to it, right? But and the passion fruit.
I'm gonna have to try this because I love creme brulee, and I'm always disappointed everywhere I go.
Yeah, I mean these little pearls look just like salmon eggs too. They're passion fruit. Yeah. So you put those in your mouth, they pop. Yeah, so it's kind of a fun, a fun take on the, you got your traditional French, right? I mean, I grew up too with, when I worked at restaurants. So we never got back. We never really started off with when I was 15 years old, I worked at Chili's, right? And then I moved to Vail, Colorado. Yeah.
Because you're a snowboarder.
Because I'm a snowboarder, So I was 17 years old. 17 years old, jumped on a Greyhound bus, went to Colorado, got a job in a day, working in a little Mexican restaurant right on the ski resort there. Worked there for a little while, then French restaurant down the street. Got a job working at a French restaurant where I learned a lot of different techniques. It was a small family-run thing, and then from there I went to, I worked at a bar for a little while, as a chef. They kind of hired me because back then I was cooking burgers and cooking, but you kind of learn, then what does it be to be? They didn't call you a chef; it was a kitchen manager, right? Yeah. So worked there for a while. Then we went to Oregon after being in Vail, Colorado for a couple of years. I went to Oregon, Mount Bachelor, and Bend, Oregon. And
when did you decide snowboarding is not my future?
So I was working at that resort, Broken Top in Bend, Oregon, and they came out to do a photo shoot for me for a magazine. And
because you're a pro snowboarder.
And an hour before the guys show up with the cameras, my family, brothers are all there and stuff. Just taking an easy run down, I decided to launch off this hit. And I flew out sideways, landed on my arm, broke my wrist in 3 places, dislocated my elbow, broke my ribs.
For a photo shoot?
For a photo shoot. So I get down to the bottom, and I'm going, no, not today, not of all days, And so they couldn't take the pictures. We couldn't get the shoot. My sponsors dropped me. I walked back into the restaurant, and the chefs are like, that's all right. This is what you're supposed to be doing anyways.
Really?
You know,
Wow.
they're like, you have a talent and a skill for this. And they're like, snowboarding has no longevity. You know, you can only snowboard for so long. But they're like, you really have a knack at this, kid. Like, you need to think about doing this professionally.
So you said you made a deal with God when he introduced you to this girl, and you were able to hold on to her. Was this another instance God was trying to tell you something the hard way here?
Yeah,
Yep,
this
exactly.
Is it.
Yeah.
That's your
Knocked you off the board to get you to wake up?
That's your last descent.
Yeah.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah, so, you know, and then getting a chance to meet all these other chefs, and, you know, these guys are traveling around, having fun, going, you know, and I'm going, man, that's the life, right? These guys are making money, and they're chefs. They got to go around, have fun, and travel around. I mean, I'm not traveling around that much like those guys were, but not yet. Maybe someday, but that's really what kind of stoked me into becoming a chef. And so then they said, boom, go to culinary school. So moved up to Seattle, went to culinary school, worked at it was funny because I actually was working at one of the nicer restaurants up in Kirkland, Washington, right on the water's edge there, and they were like, yeah, so I'm going to culinary school, and the you know, I'm like, you know, next in line to be kind of the kitchen manager. There they had chefs, you know, but when I was, let me go back actually. So when I was at Broken Top, when I was in Bend, Oregon, you know, my chef there and all this stuff, they would say, you know, you can't call yourself a chef until the old school thing was until the chefs that you've worked under tell you can call yourself a chef, you know. So, you know, when I was younger, you could never use that word chef on yourself, you know.
Somebody had to bestow that on you.
Yeah, so even when I went to culinary school, after I got out of culinary, I was like, you know, I'm still not really a chef, you know. And so I moved back down to Bend, Oregon, because I missed the snowboarding down there. And I invited the chef that I worked with from Broken Top, and I invited the other chefs that I had worked under. So I had 3 chefs there. I made them dinner one night, and I go, you know, like a 6-course, 7-course dinner. I'd just gotten this job as the head kitchen manager at this little golf course called Widgie Creek, right? I was the youngest kitchen manager chef they had hired there by like 20 years. You know, the youngest one before was like 42 years old. And the girl hired me. I was 22 years old. You know, but the food and beverage girl, but she kind of had the hots for me, so that's why I think she hired me. You know, so I invited these chefs over. The chefs that I
your
worked
wife's listening to this, or your soon-to-be wife's listening.
So the chefs that I'm working for, or I had worked under, I invite them in, so they come in for dinner. I make them this really nice dinner with a little bit of influence from each one of them. At the end of the dinner, I go, you know, can I call myself a chef? And they said, you can call yourself a chef.
Wow.
So I went, cool. So that's how I never used that.
Is this like a knight? You know, you can't become a knight unless somebody knights you. Another knight has to
you
put the sword down.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you don't see that nowadays. You know what I mean? You see a lot of kids coming out of school.
They call themselves chefs.
They call themselves chefs, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And,
what do you tell people when they say chefs and cook? Do you give them a definition of what a chef is?
What do you say as a chef or a cook?
It's very hard these days because when you see shows on TV, they all call each other chef.
Yeah.
Even if they are line cook. Hey, chef, hey, chef, hey, chef.
Right.
And so it's not a title on its own now, except on your resume, you put if you are chef, kitchen, restaurant chef, or kitchen manager, or you have executive chef or corporate chef.
Yeah, they have a distinction.
Yeah, now there's more distinction. You know?
Yeah.
And,
you call everybody chef.
Well,
you're pretty open with it. Hey, chef.
Because most of my friends are chef.
But you've had people that come in that were just, a chef to me has to be at a restaurant, some other things, but if somebody is even preparing food as catering and other things like that, you'll say chef.
Well,
I wouldn't normally have thought of calling somebody who does catering a chef. Not
I do have some people that work for me. They're asking if they can be called chef.
They want the title,
and so I think that's fine because they want to have some independence. You know,
right? They aspire to
so they can run their own catering company and say, "Oh, I own my own catering company as a chef."
Yeah, right.
So they cannot
it's
say
a title of distinction.
They cannot
that you're part of the club.
Get jobs. Say, "Oh, I'm a cook of my own catering company." You know, I'm a chef.
Yeah,
right.
So,
and I've always thought it was, you know, the difference between a cook and a chef was, you know, a cook cooks somebody else's recipe, right? You know, where a chef creates his own recipes.
That makes sense.
Not by looking in a book but by creating it out of your head and going, you know, will this work and will this happen? You know, And then also the old school where they, you know.
Well, the old school, you call the order and you say, you got to hear, yes, chef.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yep.
And then, when you think your new place is going to open?
All right, so we're talking about the Oceans and Earth at the Met, South Coast Plaza. It's probably going to be, they're giving us a date of like March, somewhere in March. So, of course, you want to do some soft openings and things like that. I'm sure we'll keep everybody updated.
I hope we get invited to do we know anybody
to the grand openings and stuff. Yeah. Chef knows how it is. It's like you don't want everybody coming the first night, right?
No.
I mean, when we opened our restaurant in Yorba Linda, that's kind of what it was like. It was like they sent out, you know, it was the fire chief comes in and he does the last inspection, right? And he goes, all right, I'm signing off on you. So you're like, cool, now let's go to the store, get all the food. Because you're not allowed to have anything in the place, no food.
Right.
So you run out, you get everything you can, and you're like, all right, we're going to have some friends overnight or soft opening tonight, couple, because we're like 4 months behind at this point, So we open up the place. So we open up the place, and it's like there's a line out the door. Someone had sent the whole city of Yorba Linda an email saying Oceans and Earth is opening tonight, and they're doing free appetizers.
Yeah, there you go.
And so everybody's coming for those. So it's like, okay, hold on, we're going to turn this into like a buffet kind of thing because there's no way we're going to be able to feed all these people.
And then the first impression is very important.
Yeah.
And if they wait forever to get food, they may think a little bit before they come back.
Yeah, so that's super important. Your opening dates, you never really kind of want to have an exact date for everybody to know because you want them to wait a little bit.
But these days, when you do soft opening, you have to put that into your budget.
Yeah.
Because it is a big budget. You give away food and for maybe a week or something.
Ooh, yeah, hopefully not.
But also, you have some good people in your kitchen. I know some of them. I know your assistants.
Yeah, we've had a lot of guys. We've had guys that were working with him for like 16 years. We have one of the guys, back when I was 17, right before I left and went to Colorado and stuff, I worked for a small catering company, and part of a guy that I met there that was helping in their kitchen is working in my kitchen, and so like there's. We have long relationships with a lot of the people that we've had. Every once in a while you lose, like I mentioned, we have a guy who's with me for 16 years. It's you lose good people like that sometimes. He met a girl, she wanted to move to Washington, get married, and they have family.
Girls. And girls are the source of problems.
And that draws them away, which is unfortunate. But that's what's going to happen, right? And especially in this industry, that's why when I sit down and I interview somebody, I say, we know, for us, our job is to make you better cooks. When you come in from when you come in the restaurant to when you leave, we want you to go and represent us and be, show that you've learned. So when you go to another restaurant, they go, hey, they worked at Oceans and Earth. They probably know kind of some stuff of what to do, And I go,
the world getting different? I know Chef works at a culinary school. He teaches.
Oh, yeah. Before you get guys that would, you used to be happy just to get your foot in the door, right? To go in and work at a place, especially with a good chef, And
you'd do anything. You'd be the dishwasher.
Yeah, you'd do anything you could to work your way up, and you'd stay for a couple of years because that's really the only way you learn. You can't learn a whole restaurant in 6 months or a year, But you see nowadays, more a lot of the people are bouncing around. I'm looking at resumes all the time where somebody is 4 months here, 4 months there, and that's never a good sign for me to hire someone who bounces around a lot like that. And I understand why they think they want to do that. So they think they can learn a little bit of they think they're quick learners or something. But, for me, part of it is even just recipes as well too. Like how are you gonna perfect a station in only 4 months, right?
Even us as a chef, when you open a restaurant with a new menu, or if you change your menu seasonally, it's not great the first day. You always adjust day after day, first to make it easier, not easier, but more practical to produce in case, you get swamped. And also, you can always make adjustments, So I guess it's like acting, you have the script, and then you make it even better, and then you're acting better after that.
Yeah.
So...
It's the little details, right?
Yeah,
you know, chef. It's like people know when Pascal's in the kitchen. You know, they know his food. It's like me. Same thing. You know, guests will say, "Hey, we know when you're cooking on the station.
Yeah.
You know, when you're doing the steaks or doing whatever, because of the seasoning and because of the temperatures and everything. You know, comes out the way they want it. Where that's those little details. It's hard to teach somebody in 4 months.
Chef,
you know? I mean, you're just trying to teach them how to cook a steak to the right temperature in the beginning, much less, the right amount of.
When you're a chef these days, and because you cannot hire people with a lot of experience, because the cost of labor, so you have to teach most of the time.
Yeah.
And some of them already have some base, but. It's an everyday
But
teaching.
do they have, the point I was going to make is, do they have an eye for detail? They haven't worked their way up through years of apprenticeship. They haven't experienced a lot of fine dining themselves. They don't, it's quick, that's good enough, that's okay. Yeah. And what I gather from listening to both of you, certainly Pascal through the years here, has talked about, that's what set his place apart. It wasn't just the passion and the care and the creativity. It was the details of doing it day after day, night after night, getting it out the same way.
Well, it's very important. It's very important that if you want to have a good employee in your kitchen, the employee has to see that the chef himself cares a lot.
Well, yeah, everybody respects what you inspect, right?
We met one of your guests on the audio show, and she said, my husband would not, when he sees something is wrong, I would never serve that. And then
she was talking about her husband owns some restaurants. Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
It's very important.
And I don't know that, this is my personal opinion, that's really the standard of most restaurants, especially chains and other things. Good enough, fast enough, it seems to be more important.
I think that's the standard for restaurants to are successful.
Yeah.
If they don't do that, it won't last.
Yeah. You got to have somebody there who cares, somebody who's watching and paying attention to little details and stuff. But you can only see so much, too, right? I mean, if steak goes out, looks beautiful, but it has no seasoning on it, hasn't been basted, hasn't been done right, then it's not going to taste good, right? You know what I mean? Or hasn't been handled properly.
What would be your favorite spices?
I'm very simple. Actually, I'm not a big spice guy. So, I mean, I love, just good salts, different types of salts, sea salts specifically. I mean, I think when you're working with great products, you don't need a lot of seasoning. I've never been like a big blackening seasoning guy and stuff. So people come to our restaurants and say, "Can we get our salmon blackened and stuff?" It's like, we can try and make a spice up real quick. I know, but it's like we don't really have a blackening spice. We don't really do black. Like we got beautiful salmon here. Why would you need it blackened? When you can just put, some beautiful
because
sea salt
most people
on
don't have beautiful salmon, so they blacken it to cover it, to hide it.
Yeah.
Right? I think sometimes the inferiority of the product.
Yeah, it's not many restaurants use really good salmon. Like that's why what you guys are doing, what they're doing down there, I think is amazing and awesome, and it's cool. Hopefully we can, get more of that up here and get rid of that Atlantic salmon that everybody's using.
It's called A0 steelhead salmon.
A0 steelhead.
Soon in your fish market.
Yeah. Props to them.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want us to know about the new one? Opens when? So the Met is. I'm trying to picture where that Met part of is. Is that north of the?
That'd be south of South Coast, right?
Yeah, on the other side of the Bristol.
Yeah.
And it's by. Is at the.
So you have Water Grill, and you got Mastro's.
Avenue of the Stars.
Avenue of the Stars. Yeah. So you go right past
Water
Avenue.
Grill, and that's where the Segerstrom Center is, and all that kind of stuff.
Right not far from the Segerstrom Center.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the Met. So there's 3 big tall buildings off the 405 there. There's a 24-hour fitness center. It's like the largest 24-hour fitness in the country, I think.
And plenty of parking facilities there. It's easy to.
It's going to have a huge event space outside, right? So they're putting in a beer garden. So they just put in Pacific Pro Michael. He's got a little cafe in there called Pacific Pro. If you haven't been there, you should go check it out.
If when you drive direction of Newport Beach on the 55, you can see it on the right. You get Bristol, you turn around, you're right there.
Yeah. And then they're working on a beer garden right now.
Beer garden.
Yeah, so they're going to put a beer garden in over there by Pacific Pearl, and then, ours will be next year. But the beer gardens, I think, is supposed to be open this fall.
Oh, fun.
So yeah, so
we
that'll
need
be cool.
more outdoor spaces. I don't know why there aren't more outdoor. There are some.
They're
but
beautiful outdoor spaces.
This is the best, yeah.
Pacific Pearl is a great space there.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's where in Southern California you want to eat outdoors. I don't want to eat indoors all the time. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you get out of the theater there, right, and you're in
Yeah.
Seeger's Trims, it's like you don't want to go walk into a place where it's all dark and there's no windows.
Or
again,
even
you know?
before the
Or
show.
before the show.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's perfect. And
Yeah.
you just walk to the...
Walk right there.
Yeah.
It's a good spot.
great.
All
We're
right.
excited.
We'll
Yeah,
look forward
they're doing
to
a
it.
lot of stuff too. You know, the landlord or the owners of this property are really
And then
renovating
don't
it.
always say we met at the Met.
Yeah,
We met at the Met.
So we'll have to have you guys over. We'll invite you
Please,
guys when we get right
please.
open. Yeah.
I'm always trying to
So is
tag
that
along
going to
here.
be called Ocean on Earth?
Yes, it's going to be Oceans and Earth. Yep. I mean, you got the name. It's like, hey, you know why? You know, people know it now. Like I said, people
Are
come
there
from,
more coming? Is this a concept that we'll see growing, or is this?
You know, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where we were talking about earlier.
One at a
It's
time.
Yeah, it's one at a time, and it's a chef driven. Like it's
Right.
we're gonna have the 2 spots for a little while going. You know what I mean? So we'll see how that works out. But that's I'm already stretched with that. You know.
Yeah. right.
Yeah, I'm not a big chain guy. I mean, it's very rare that when I usually go out to restaurants, I'm going somewhere kind of unique. I think I'm sure you do the same thing, Chef, when you go somewhere.
But Chef's talking about all the time these days when people invest in a new restaurant, they're already trying to say the payoff will be the second, the third, the fourth one. It's so hard to build one today. It's so expensive that they're immediately, the payoff for the investors is perhaps turning it into a concept and a chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what he wants.
No,
No.
that's a different business model than mine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, mine's more about like keep it unique, keep it
personal.
different, you know.
Family oriented and
Yep.
friend.
I love it. All
You
right.
know, and you're not going to. It's hard to take a farm to table where you're growing the produce right and make that into a chain. You know, it's like
You'd have to have farms everywhere.
Yeah, you'd have farms everywhere, and it's labor intensive. It really is.
Well,
But
the Segerstrom has a farm not far from there.
yeah,
You know, on the 405.
okay,
they
yeah,
still have a
yeah,
farm?
right there,
I
yeah.
didn't even know they still had farms.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
They
That's
originally
part of
grew
Tanaka.
beans.
That's there, yeah. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have some garden spaces out there too, both in the front of the restaurant and on the back side. We're gonna put in a farm table as well too, and be able to do dinners out there on a farm. Put a barbecue and a smoker out there and
man.
do some fun
Are you
stuff
going to have
outside.
a pit too?
A barbecue pit? Where you
A barbecue pit, yeah, like
yeah.
Argentinian style,
yeah.
That's what we're putting out there, a little barbecue.
Oh,
area. Then they got like
I can smell it.
we have outdoor bars. There's going to be there's ping pong and there's all kinds of.
You're going to have all around. You can have the beer garden, and then you smell the fire pit. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Again, an experience.
An experience, and that's what That's why the owners came to us and said, you know, this has really been their kind of vision to make this place into experience. You know.
So I want to talk about the house. So you can give us your address, and not only that you close 2 days a week, huh? Monday.
Oh yeah, right now we're closed Sunday, Monday.
Sunday, Monday. All
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
And you just dinner.
We're just dinner right now. 5 o'clock we open. Normally, you know, a lot of times it's reservations only, really, you know, unless you're going to kind of come in and sit at the bar or something, or after 8 o'clock. It's funny because we're in Yorba Linda, so it's like that crowd is
And
between
you have a
5 and 8, right?
Full
It's like-
bar.
We have a full bar. Yep.
Now I would think it's South Coast, though you would want to have brunches and lunches.
Yeah, so
and
we'll be
happy
doing lunch and dinner there, and
because you got an office crowd and stuff.
yeah,
that you can
yeah.
pull
There's
from.
there's like 1,200 people or so in that building right there. You know, so there'll be a good lunch business. We'll have to build up the dinner business a little bit, but because people know, the name already, Oceans and Earth, and we get a lot of people from Newport Beach and Long Beach, and so that'll be the closer point for them to come to.
Love it. All right, thank you so much.
Exciting stuff.
Is there a
Thank
website
you.
or anything we can go to?
Yeah, go to Oceans and Earth. What is it? ONErestaurant.com. Oceans. I don't,
You tell
know.
us. I don't know. It's your
I'm
restaurant.
the worst at this kind of things too. But you can go to the Met website as well too. They have some pictures and some.
So wandering.
Yeah, they have drawings, and they're
What's
actually
coming?
doing like a 3D kind of like flyover video of it, so you can see where the beer garden is, and Pacific Pearl, and us. And
So this is not till
this
this is a year away or 6 months away. What did you say?
Yeah, so March would be our opening. Pacific Pearl's already open, so they already put the cafe in.
Okay.
They're building the beer garden now. I think that's going to be open by, which is House 575.
We should get them in
It's
here
gonna be-
too. We should talk about the whole scene here.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
And you're still doing catering as well.
We're still doing catering. I mean, yeah, like it's 27 years. We've had the same clientele, which is
Same
great.
name, Oceans and Earth Catering?
Yeah, Oceans and Earth. That name changed over the years. Of course, when you first start out, as a caterer, it's Chef Adam, and then it becomes this, and then, but yeah, we still have the same. 4th of July. I mean, here I'm 27 years in a row. Been working 4th of July, barbecuing for everybody down there, and or about Newport Coast.
Newport Coast. I
Yeah,
remember.
but 27 years. It's like wow.
And you used to work with Paddy also.
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And we know each other for 25
I
years.
can gather
Yeah.
this is like old home week here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, one time I came and we talked about. I even talked about working for him one time.
Everybody's working.
And then I
for
went to
him
Napa
sometime.
Valley and then came back. And
We go to events sometimes, and people come up and start, gushing over him. Oh, chef, on this, and I worked. And he looks at me and says, "Did he work for me? I don't even remember. You can't even remember them all here."
he's got a lot of chefs, like you said, have worked for him.
and thank you for the support with all the charities that
You
you're
got it.
always part of.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You got it. Our pleasure. Always a good time to get together with
And
the
you've been
chefs.
being like each other.
I mean, he's a mentor right here to all of us.
It's opened my eyes to lots of things going on out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oceans and
Thank
Earth,
you.
thanks for coming in.
You got it. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Another journey behind the kitchen doors as we not only look at the best, we hear what's coming. All here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, streaming live from our studios here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.